Okay, today is Thursday, October 10th, and today I learned, I didn't really learn it, but I guess I was just reminded of something that I feel like is kind of the mantra of this channel, and just something that I try to do every single day, and something that I think is very important and that people don't realize is important. So basically, that thing is just being and thinking logically. I've talked about this in a few videos, but I haven't made like one video about it. Basically, I just think that being logical is very important, and it's kind of like the key to solving any like problem, like solving problems, especially like if you want to solve problems, think logically. I don't know, I use it every day. I just try to think logically every day. Like an example was today, a few examples. Today I had anatomy class, and like whenever she asks like a question, like to us as students, I always just try to think logically about it instead of just guessing, but actually just think about like, okay, these muscles work this way, so therefore this is this, like that kind of thing. Now I know that's very obvious in a school sense, like you want to use what you've learned to think logically and form a conclusion. But I feel like sometimes we can kind of neglect that and just kind of guess for things like that. Another example is that yesterday I was talking about 10xing my growth with softball, and today I was just like taking notes on a bunch of videos, just trying to do what's most obvious to 10x my growth. And I just have to, one of those things is just being logical about the things that I need to do. So like all of the important like workout, like strength workout movements are all because of the movements you do in the sport. So if you think, what movements do I do in the sport and I need to get stronger at those, so how can I simulate those movements in my workout, like to strengthen those? Like that's just thinking logically and doing what you need to be doing. Another example is that me and my sister were playing an escape room game, like one of those online ones, and the whole thing about that is thinking logically and solving problems using what you have to solve problems. Sometimes, I guess that this is kind of like an analogy for life. Sometimes you have problems that you don't have solutions to, and sometimes you have solutions that you don't have the problems for. But within that, you just need to be resourceful and be logical and use your brain. Yeah. So how do we be logical? How do we use our brain? I think there are a few questions that you can ask yourself. These are like the basic analysis questions that I always ask myself in pretty much any situation. You can ask yourself the why, the what, and the how of your situation. And additionally, you can also do the who, the when, the where, if you want to do that as well. But I think the most important ones are the why, the what, and the how of your current situation. That is one way to be thinking logically, especially why, because knowing the causes of things really helps remedy the solutions and find the solutions for those things. I don't know, thinking logically, there's not necessarily one formula, and I do think that if any of you know what classical education is, they have like a whole course for logic, and I don't necessarily agree with the things that they teach and the way they teach logic, because logic can just be done with your brain and you don't have to put it into like all the different forms and all the different like terms and like all the different stuff like that. Just use your brain, just think logically, think about the why, the what, and the how, especially like the why, like the cause and effect situation. Think about like the different attributes. So like the what are the different attributes or characteristics of this certain situation, and like the how, like what is the function of this certain thing, or what is happening in this certain situation. I guess the why is more cause and effect and like the purpose of things. The what is more the definition of things, and the how is more the function of things, similar to cause and effect, but more in the opposite direction. So if you think about if you know what the black box is, like in coding and in algorithms, basically an algorithm is an input and then the algorithm and then an output, and that algorithm is just a black box, and some people don't know what is in that box and they just know the inputs and outputs, but some people create those black boxes to create the algorithm to produce a certain output. So within the why, the what, and the how, the why in a way is like the input. So it is the purpose and it is the cause to this effect. The how is kind of like the output. So like, what is the function? What is the thing doing? And then the what is not necessarily the black box, but is kind of what, like after the how, or maybe even before the how, like what are the different terms and objects involved in this situation. And then the black box, I guess, could also be considered the how, like how are we converting from the input to the output. But yeah, that's kind of my comparison to the black box theory, I think it's called, or whatever, like the black box algorithm, and comparing that to the why, the what, and the how. Those are two tools that you can use to solve any problem logically. Just think about the why, the what, and the how, and think about like the inputs and outputs and like what's going on in the middle. I think I do think the why, the what, and the how are the main things for thinking logically, because the what helps you define your terms, and that is very, very important. When being logical, you need to define your terms. And the why helps you understand like the purpose of things and like cause and effect. I love using why questions, like why is this happening? Like what happened before this to result in this situation? I feel like those are really helpful. And the how, first of all, how can we change this? Like, how can we fix the problem? But also, like, how does this work? Like, how is this thing functioning? Or what is happening in this current situation? This just helps you understand, like, where you are right now, and, like, how things are being affected right now, in a more, like, functional sense. So yeah, that's kind of what I learned today. I just learned about the importance of logic. Now, this is something I already know, but I just realized it more and more, and I just wanted to talk about the importance of logic. Someday, not today, but someday I want to make like some sort of ultimate guide to being logical, and like all the different kinds of tools you can use without overcomplicating it, because I have taken a logic course and it was way overcomplicated. And it was just very frustrating, and it didn't allow me to just use my brain and think logically. So yeah, this is a very important skill for you to have if you want to be able to solve problems and go through certain situations, whether that is like on a larger scale or a smaller scale. So yeah, be logical. Eventually I'm going to make some sort of ultimate guide to logical thinking, but that is not today. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. I definitely think that this is something you should be incorporating into your everyday life, just thinking logically, because we do it subconsciously for smaller things, but I think we need to bring it to our conscious mind more often when we face problems that we don't know how to solve. So yeah, think logically and use the why, the what, and the how to go through that logical thinking process. If you found this video helpful, then definitely give it a like, because that's really helpful for me. And if you want to see more videos just like this one, talking about what I learned today and how I'm trying to implement it into my life and how you guys can implement it into yours, so if you want to see those kinds of videos, then definitely subscribe. And if you subscribe, then I will see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.